With the coalition now 1 year old, welcome to Question Time. And with me here in Sheffield tonight, from the Cabinet, the Business Secretary Vince Cable, the Labour MP and former Cabinet Minister David Dimbleby, Anna Soubry, who, after a career as a journalist and a barrister, emerged as a Conservative MP at the last election, Max Mosley, who this week lost his battle to change the law on privacy, and the broadcaster and talk show host James O'Brien. Good. Well, let's have our first question. You seem to have one up your sleeve. Yes, sir.
Will the coalition last another 4 years?
Will the coalition last another 4 years? Vince Cable.
Yes, certainly. Both parties are agreed to a sort of a 5-year deal, and as the situation maintains where we need to sort of come together in the national interest, I think that both parties can do that. There'll be the odd stage of sort of things like the AV debate, which will be quite contentious, probably.
But you've described the woman sitting beside you and the Conservatives as a whole as ruthless, calculating and thoroughly tribal. How do you expect to get along with her for another 4 years?
Because situations, this current situation bequeathed by the last government dictates that we have to do that. So
David Dimbleby, do you think they'll stick together?
I'm very surprised if they do. There's already a lot of arguments and fractures showing, especially after the whole AV debacle.
You did so badly in the last elections, you won't want an election soon, will you?
Well, considering how much people are starting to hate the Lib Dems at the moment and the Tories after these ruthless cuts that are happening, I think an election now wouldn't actually be too bad.
Well, despite having lost all your seats in Scotland?
Well, obviously there's some things we need to improve on.
Certainly are.
So we'll keep improving.
All right. James O'Brien, what do you make of it as an outsider on this?
I'd be astonished if the country as a whole let the coalition continue. I think they've demonstrated their inability to govern and lead this country well, quite well. So, yes, I've no doubt that they'll be out in the next election.
Anna Soubry, do you think the Tories would benefit by having an election and getting rid of these irritating Liberal Democrats who keep saying you're getting things wrong and they're the ones who've achieved everything?
I don't think it's a question of whether we benefit from it at the moment. We're in a coalition. That was the agreement after the election last year, and we are trying to do the best for this country. And if I can just say, I don't think this shows that the Conservatives are particularly doing bad, because as we saw from last week's council elections, we actually gained seats in our councils. So I don't accept the view that the coalition is failing at the moment.
So why not go for a general election, kick the Liberal Democrats out?
Because we're trying to do at the moment what is best for the country.
Well, politicians always say that.
Well,
you
that's
actually try
because
to do... I mean, Vince Cable thinks you'll only do what's best for the Tory party.
Well, Vince Cable...
Is he lying about your motives?
Well, Vince Cable has his own agenda, I think, in this coalition.
Max Mosley, what do you make? Anybody in the audience got a comment to make on this? Put your hands up if you have. No? All right, Max Mosley.
I hope the coalition lasts another 4 years. I believe it's survived some of the tribulations so far. The AV debate was one of the big separation points between the two parties, and I think they'll be able to last another 4 years. I certainly hope they will. The real question, I think, is whether the Lib Dems will still last after the end of the coalition.
OK. Well, you've got a comment on this and you're tweeting tonight. Our hashtag, just a reminder, BBCQT. You can text us, Paige, by ringing in, we're calling in 98, whatever it is, 83981. Go to CFAX page 155 to see what others are saying, and if you're watching digitally, press the red button. Let's have another question, please. Can we have a second question from anybody? Come on, you're all in this business together. No, not the two of you, somebody else. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes, sir.
Do you think, in the light of David Lawes' judgment today, do you think he was suitably punished?
Was he suitably punished? Max Mosley.
Well, I personally think in terms of the fact that he has deceived the electorate and has taken money away from taxpayers, he was not at all severely punished. He should have been forced to resign. Vince
Cable, he's one of yours. Do you think he was properly punished? And when should he come back into government?
I think as soon as possible, as soon as it's allowed. Many people from both sides of party lines have said that David Lawes has got a lot to bring to to bring to the country in terms of politics. And technically, I don't accept the argument that he did that he did take money away from the taxpayer. Had he declared that that it was his partner, he could claim more by claiming it as his second home. So yes, it did. Technically, the headline figure of £40,000, that would have been more had he...
He could have claimed more if he'd not lived with his partner, but
No,
gone
had he
off
lived
to
with
a-
his partner but admitted it was his partner.
Is that right? I thought... Is that right? Well, why would he have been able to claim more if he said it was
Because
his
he could have
partner?
said it was his second home, so he could claim for
Because it would have been
cleaning
a second home. But it was his second home.
Yes, it was his second home.
And he was claiming it as his second home.
No, he was claiming rent
Yeah.
as opposed to upkeep
Paying
and gardening.
rent. Yeah.
Yes.
Anna Soubry.
I don't think I do think that he's being punished in the right way, but I do think we need to accept that, as Vince said, he does have something to bring, and he should be allowed back when he served his punishment.
OK. Max Mosley. No, you've done it. James O'Brien. Anybody got a point on this want to make? Just try it out. Yes, the woman in red there.
Interested
What?
in what Max Mosley has
Yes.
to say there, because surely David Laws was just trying to keep his private life private, and therefore shouldn't be castigated for what he's done.
And Max Mosley should be sympathetic to
You would
that,
have thought
since
so.
he's failing to keep his private life
Absolutely,
private at every turn.
absolutely.
Well, he's paying his partner, which is it's surely immoral and wrong.
He's
I
paying
think
his
you
partner.
paid your partners, didn't you?
James O'Brien.
I personally believe that resignation should be made compulsory. I think the liberties that these MPs are making are absolutely shocking, and it would be in the public interest for them to resign with immediate effect.
OK. And David Blunkett.
I think you've got to look at it differently to all the other cases of MP's expenses, because what he was doing was about his privacy and not about making money, because he was in fact losing money on it. So it's a difficult one, but I think
Go on.
I think whatever the ruling was is
7 days
that's it.
suspension.
I think that was
Many
suitable.
people think it was a blessed relief, but apparently they don't.
Well,
in House
slap on the
Commons.
wrist is the phrase
7
I've heard.
days, slap on the wrist, yes. The man there, you had your finger up. What did you want to say? Yeah.
Does the panel think that Twitter should be outlawed in this country, given what's been happening with the allegations about super injunctions?
What, Twitter disobeying the injunctions or ignoring the injunctions? Very quick, last question. You go first, Max Mosley.
No, I don't think Twitter should be outlawed. It's about freedom of the press, which is quite ironic considering my background. But there is a certain degree where this is individual people saying things. This isn't the whole big media organisation.
Yeah. Does anybody believe what's said on Twitter? Do you, Vince Cable? Do you ever read Twitter? Do you Twitter yourself? Or
no,
tweet?
I don't tweet myself.
Why not?
Because
It would be fascinating. Your dance steps you could do. I'm out here doing my...
I don't see the point in it.
Paso Doble and,
I think there are better ways, such as this programme, to contact the electorate.
Anna Soubry.
I don't think Twitter should be outlawed. I think the key issue here is some clarification on privacy law in the UK at the moment. I do think it's wrong for Twitter, the fact that Twitter can not obey these super injunctions. However, I just think we need to look more at what we can do to make sure that there is some sort of clarity between
If it's anonymous, not much you can do to pursue people, is there? I mean, I could tweet, you know, that you were having an affair with him and you wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
No.
Sorry, I know you've only just met.
Yeah.
But you know. OK, yes, perhaps we won't go down the road. David Blunkett.
Well, yeah, I think the
Of
question
course,
here
you
is...
came
about-
unstuck with gossip, didn't you? You had a rough old time.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so I think we need to look into more about the use of super injunctions. I think that's the problem. I think they're being given out just willy-nilly now. And
OK.
Yeah.
James O'Brien.
I mean, I think that the benefits that, like, obviously, it's a platform for expression, and I think that far outweighs, obviously, all the negativity that's arisen from Twitter. Therefore, I completely agree. I don't think it should be outlawed.
Some people say Twitter is like... I mean, the difference between Twitter... if you've got some scandal going, the difference between Twitter and the Daily Mail or the Sun is Twitter's like people talking in a pub or in a cafe or something, or on a bus. It's only gossip, so it doesn't really warrant being controlled in that way, whereas a
We
newspaper...
have no jurisdiction over it. It's the
No,
whole
you
thing with the
couldn't
super
anyway, so it's
injunction. It's an
pointless.
American company.
Yeah. Yeah, and anyway, yeah. OK, well, that's it. That's it for Question Time this week. A very good edition, sure you'll agree. Next week, Question Time is going to be coming from Wormwood Scrubs Prison in West London, and we'll be locked up there by then. Our audience will include prisoners and prison staff, as well as the public. And on our panel, we have the Justice Secretary, Ken Clarke, and the former Home Secretary, Jack Straw, as well as the Daily Mail columnist, Melanie Phillips. So that's next week. After that, the week after that, we're in Exeter. If you'd like to come either to the Scrubs or to Exeter, the number to ring is 0330 123 9988, or visit our website. My thanks to our panel and to our audience here from Sheffield. Until next Thursday in jail. Good night.